You are welcome to today's episode on family code. And today we're looking at something quite interesting, right? Communication mistakes that parents and guardians make with children. Some of the things that we'll be mentioning are not quite conventional, right? But they came as a result of practice, experience, study, and observation. And I'm sure it's going to help. So while you listen to each point and you need clarity, or you have a particular situation with a child and you want clarity, because some of these answers are great, but because children are not projects, right? Projects like building projects, they are wholesome persons with a spirit, a soul, and a body. So there are certain peculiarities that you may face when dealing with a particular child concerning this subject. And each of the solutions and the problems, challenges that will be highlighted may give light to the things that you are presently facing, and you may need more insights about it, or you want to share with us the specific thing that you're going through with that child. We are willing to help. So do not hesitate to reach out to us. Now let's dive in to the things that we have today. There are communication mistakes that a lot of people make when dealing with children, and we're going to highlight them. And one thing I must say is that people see children though as small human beings, but one thing that most times you're not conscious about is that they are wholesome human beings. And most of the way we relate with them, we relate to them, their experiences add up to the entire personality of that child as they begin to mature. So how you communicate with a child does not disappear, in quotes. It builds up to the things they perceive about themselves, they perceive about life, they perceive about you, they perceive about God or whatever topic, or generally about life. Now, one of the major things that we're going to highlight is how important it is for you to give us feedback. Yes, we want to know how these things are helping you. All right. We want to know how these messages that we are putting out are helping you. These are not just content where we just want to bring you information. We want to journey with you, right? We are interested. We want to journey with you, work with you through the process. So yes, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the communication mistake of oversharing things that happen with your child. Oversharing the things that happen with and to your child. Now, this can be positive, this can be negative. Sharing things when it comes to positive, like our words, achievements, progress, character strengths, behaviors, and all that, actually comes in handy to build a child's confidence, self-esteem, and public image, right? How they perceive themselves, how they feel that you are proud of them. It is necessary, but it should be done with caution, because as children mature, in as much as certain experiences they have is actually good, they want to understand their life to be conservative. And be like, nah, someone may disagree because of how much is put on social media when it comes to privacy today. But I want to tell you that it is because such things are not managed when it comes to childhood and upbringing. That is why people don't know the boundary line between sharing their private information and what is supposed to be public. You know, the need for validation is one thing that is met when you share your child's achievements with other people, especially people who are respected or people they admire. But children who don't experience this tend to do it themselves. And that's why you see a lot of things on social media. And it's subtle, right? It's not known, except you sit with an expert or a counselor and they will tell you the root cause of some of the behaviors that we're having. So we want our children to grow into wholesome individuals that know the the reason and the effect of the things they do. So they do not subtly seek external validation by your behaviors, right? And so sometimes children seek this validation because they see other parents do it, but you need to culture them in a way where you understand why it is done in a certain way. Now, in the aspect of our sharing, right, I want to say I've had that experience where there were things that I shared with my parents, and I didn't want them discussed with anybody. And some of them were good, right? Some of them were progress. I didn't want to discuss with anybody. There were instances where these things were things I discussed with my mother, and I didn't want them discussed with my father. Do you get? So good. There is that. I have the right. I have the right to who I share information with, and children actually feel the same way. And this is one thing that we ought to be conscious about. You'll be like, oh, they're just children. I need to show them that I'm proud. But to an extent, is violation. That's first. And secondly, when the child perceives it as, okay, it's now about you. It's about how you feel about me. It's about you being proud. It's about your prestige. It's about your name. It's not really about me. You wouldn't want to do that with your child, because a lot of great people have this tendency, a lot of valuable people have this tendency of wanting to share their children's achievement. And there's a recurrent challenge that we see over time with children of great people, influencers, and people that have public image. These children walk on eggshells. That's one. Yeah, they walk on eggshells most times. And at the point, they tend to tell their child, you control my life too much. They complain, I never had the right to choose the things that I do and the things that I wanted. Oversharing when it comes to your child's life actually gives them a mental public standard they have to uphold. So don't make the battle difficult for your child. I'm sure this is understood. But if you have further question about this point, you can also write us. You can reach us. You can write via the comment or any of our media handles, right? Now, going further into this episode, communication mistakes that parents and guardians make with children. So, what is the solution to oversharing? What is the solution to oversharing? Um, First, as a parent, I want you to be relaxed and stable. It is easy to get tempted to want to share things about your children where other people do the same. Maybe you are seated at dinner, you are seated in an event, and people share stuff about their children. You want to, okay, I think it's okay since everyone is sharing. I wouldn't want to look like um I'm not appreciating what they are sharing. So in a bid to want to reciprocate their gestures, you now share. Not intentionally because you want to share information about your children, or you want to brag, or you want to be proud, or you want to expose the private life of your child, or simply because those close to you do it and you want to reciprocate this gesture. In as much as that is good, but I want you to know that that's your child's life we are talking about. And even though you are the one in charge of the schooling, the education, the guiding and guarding of that child, let's not violate them. All right. Let's not violate them by doing that. So you want to keep a guard on the triggers that make you share. Is it that there's criticism about your child going on in a particular senior environment and you want to chip in to bring out all the amazing things that a child is doing? That is great, but you want to do it subtly and be careful about it, right? Because the child can also pick that as an habit when they are being criticized. They want to defend themselves by their abilities, and that's not a healthy way to live. And so another trigger may be when you feel uncomfortable or insecure, or you feel like you are failing at a point, because there are trying seasons where a parent or a guardian could feel like they are not doing enough, right? Those days happen. And you wonder if your training is enough. And so that sometimes people use that subconsciously to comfort themselves, okay? To comfort themselves, and you will want to be careful. So there are a lot of triggers, but if you pay attention to what I have said concerning oversharing, positive and negative things about your child, and know that they are triggers. Just pay attention to your practices over time when it comes to the people that you have listened to, those who raised you, the people around you, how they share information about their children. These will help you identify the many other triggers that can be involved in this. And now, one communication mistake that parents actually do, parents, guardians, and people who deal with children. You see, because we are conscious that we are the ones in charge of how a child tread in life, sometimes we become overconscious and controlling. How do I mean? When it comes to timing, the way you will not speak to your boss at any time, the way you will not speak to your spouse at any time you feel like, you are considered to see, okay, is he in a good mood? Is she in a good mood? Is it the right time? Is my boss comfortable to talk about it? We don't tend to be conscious of all these things when it comes to children. We feel, okay, because they are small and we are in charge, then we can talk to them about anything whenever we like. Not necessarily so. Okay? Not necessarily so. If you are in Nigeria and Africa, most punishments happen either early in the morning or at night. A lot of people can relate to this experience of their parents waking them up at night and giving them the beating of their life. Or during devotions or after devotions, that's where, you know, that is where they get the beating of their life. You want to be careful because when you do it during devotions, it should not be the topic of discussion. It affects how they perceive God, you know, because at that point, imagine coming for devotions every day, you know that it is your matter that we talk about. It is one thing that you did that will be corrected. It is not, you will not be happy to show because you will not know the next thing to expect. So timing is important, right? So you may be listening to me and you're not from Africa, you're not from Nigeria, and you may not be able to relate to what I just shared right now, but just pay attention to the practices, right, in your own locality, and you could relate clearly to what I'm talking about. So timing is important. There are certain things that you need to share after school. Some things that need to be communicated immediately. And so have that routine check to see if you actually um, did certain things with your child at the right time. It could be once in 3 days, it could be once in a week. Just have a chat where you highlight that this is something that you need to think about. Because when you begin to pay attention to how you do it, you will discover that just by self-examination, you can pick up certain flaws. All right? It's going to help you check how their responses were when you spoke to them about certain important topics, and as well as see, okay, were they receptive when I spoke to them? Were they angry? Were they uncomfortable? What was the situation? Is it because they were hungry or because I was not happy at that moment? Was it a conducive environment? Simply paying attention to these and actually checkmating yourself intermittently, maybe weekly, but as often as possible would help you. Self-examination will help you. But if you don't have this routine checkup, I'm already diving into the solution. If you do not have this routine checkup, it becomes difficult. You'll just be going on a spiral and you'll not be able to, you know, pick up pick up certain tendencies that you're already engaging in that should be corrected. And then boom, one day you will just see your child has an outburst. You'll be like, how dare you talk to me like that? You don't know that. Because of insensitivity to the right times to communicate with the child. So what are the right times to communicate with the child? Now, there are variations based on family setup, right? There are certain families where there's just one parent. There are families where you have two parents, a man and a woman. There are families where you have a lot of extended family. There are families based on family setup, location, culture, and geography. Like if you're in Asia and your 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 cultures actually esteem a certain kind of communication at certain hours, or you have rituals where you have family meetings or you have weekly dinners and all. There are certain things that should not be discussed in those dinners. Those are not the times where you bring out the things that your children are doing that are wrong. All right. That's not the place where you do evaluation for children. No, you can do that for adults, right? Because they expect it. All right. They expect it. It could be a table of conversation. But for children, no. Children want to be corrected mostly in enclosed, safe environment. They are not adults. So public rebuke should be done sparingly because it affects their self-image. It affects how they see you. It affects how they feel around you. They feel humiliated sometimes, not because of what you said, it's because of the timing, simply because of the timing. So the timing in which you teach a child, you encourage a child, you correct a child can go a long way to affect your result. So I've mentioned a few things that could help you based on family pattern, family setup, geography, and as well as setting out times where you sit and chat with your child. All right. Um, it is okay if a child does something, you don't correct them immediately, and then you sit them possibly 2 days later, especially if they are beginning to grow into the age of accountability, right? The age of accountability varies for children. So I wouldn't want to give an age range, right? But where your child can communicate and understand you to a level. So when you sit with that child and say, there was something you did 2 days ago, I was not happy about it, but I didn't want to come off angry, right? And I also want to listen to you. So that's why I didn't talk about it, but it doesn't mean that I was pleased or I was passive about it or it was not important, right? So, but I want to tell you now. Then you explain the situation, you give the rebuke, you give the solution, you inspire them. Now, that first part of the conversation where I just mentioned is very key because one thing that you would want to do in the process of teaching or correcting children is that you build their self ability to to make choices, process information, and make decisions. Make choices, process information, and make decisions. So, right, um, if you have listened to this point, it is great. Please share your thoughts. Please share your thoughts. We are so willing to receive feedbacks from you. If you're listening, whether on Telegram, on Facebook, on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, please reach us. We have a whole lot of community of people that will help you, whether it's a parenting community or community of people where you learn about God, you learn about the things that pertain to God and how you should apply the word of God in your daily life. You need to learn about kingdom tenants. You need to learn about a lot of things. Just reach us. Okay? Thank you.